And we are live.
All right. In which case, welcome everybody to our 7th production review of Tycho Decay, which is the short film that we've been working on. That's a horror film inspired by Dead Space, Resident Evil, and I think what was the last one? Dead Space,
Uh,
Resident Evil. What's the last one
Alien,
you always?
Alien.
Alien, that's right, Alien. So today we are going to be talking about the monument scene, or at least how far we've gotten to it. And that will be that threw me off. I just heard you. I just heard myself.
I know, sorry, I was just
Delayed.
double checking that that it's working.
But yeah, so you're gonna be taking us through it. So you were telling me earlier that there was a bit of a issue, kind of an issue on it, simply
Right.
because it took longer than you thought, just getting everything prepped for actually building the scene. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so long and short of it is I'm doing too many things. And it's a classic like shiny object syndrome creative person issue. But also I you're like, oh, I'm gonna jump in, I'm just gonna start creating, and then you forget like, oh, there's like 8 or 9 little check boxes I have to do beforehand. So it's like, so the beginning of the week it's like updating all the software. So you update all of your software, and then you're like, oh, now all the software is updated, all my plugins are broken. So then you're like, okay, well, all the plugins and additional things I have feeding into this software, all the APIs, like I gotta update those and re-import all of them. So then you do all that, and you're like, now I can start working. And you're like, no, wait, shoot, I don't have all the assets I need. And so then you start finding all the assets. So I'm gonna share my screen here
Share the
and
assets.
show what we've been working. But the main thing is getting some stuff to work technically. So the scene, which I'm actually gonna load up here too now that I think about it.
I was gonna say we should probably show off at least
Yeah,
what we have
we'll
so far,
show off what we have,
or at least
yeah.
the concept art that we had.
So let me actually do that. So this scene is called is a monument scene, and this is one of the main scenes in it, and it's sort of the corrupting factor in this whole thing. So if I go to pre-production, and I don't have too much concept art of it. That's great concept art, but more or less, this is freaking out on me. But this is this is sort of the general ideal is there's this thing that this tribe on this little planet that we've landed on are worshiping, and the crew that's interviewing, that's researching all this is what they're seeing. It might be easiest to just do this. There we go. So this is our planet, our little cracked planet here, and there's our little research outpost. But there's other parts of this that have stuff going on, and that's where this scene kind of takes place. And we kind of push into this kind of scary temple where these people are watching this stuff, and this is sort of the heart of what causes all the things to go wrong.
I don't think I've seen this before. This concept art. Is this early?
This is early stuff. Yeah, this is just like, we don't have a full concept of some of this stuff. We have like much more fleshed out, and some of it's like, yeah, we kind of know more or less what we want to do with this. Oh, there's more fleshed out actually. I think about it. So this is originally we were going with like a very Dead Space, like very literal Dead Space, like sort of look. And so you kind of had dead skulls, just stuff mutating around it, hanging on, ropes and stuff like that. And it's creepy. But as this thing sort of evolved, we've moved slightly away from being, I don't really want to be a literal Dead Space thing. We've there's a bunch of reasons for it. We missed the window, but also like it's sort of, the story's better not being literally like a super just like, hey, here's this Dead Space thing. So but the some of the ideas from that stick around, right? And so what this is kind of evolved into is we have this scene here, which is our, make sure this is optimized, or it is not. Preset, optimize this for viewport. That way it'll load fast. As you sort of have this scene. So it's getting there, but as you can tell, there's only like 2 types of skulls. All the bones are kind of the same bones. So the general idea is there. And then the marker in the middle, though, this is going to change.
Very dark, by the way.
It is very dark.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was on purpose or...
It is on purpose because there'll be some lights like added. Things will start glowing and stuff. So this is like the first shot of it where it's like super mysterious. And then like not to spoil too
mysterious.
much, but yeah, different things will pop up. So then I can brighten it up though a little bit here. But yeah, so this is like this
Okay,
is an
wait,
early
one more thing
concept of
too.
it.
Okay, so that was what type? That wasn't bucket. That was, what's the other one called?
IPR. This is progressive rendering.
Progressive render.
Yes.
Okay. See, I'm learning.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
learning.
exactly. So for this shot,
I'm like a baby bird. You just gotta keep feeding me.
It's a new saying. I've never heard that before.
I got that from a buddy from college.
Okay. But yeah, it's like repeated skulls and stuff like. So we need to add more variety, and then this marker is going to change to be something a little more spoopy. It's going to be a little more inspired by like
Spoopy? I'm sorry,
yeah,
what?
spoopy. It means spooky, but it's spoopy season right now. So something a little more
Is this how you
tribal.
talk to like how what you say when you talk to pets?
No,
I'm
it's
against
just like it's a known thing. Spoopy is a known phenomena.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah. You don't have
Okay.
like someone that's chronically online
No, thankfully I don't.
in your life, but
I don't. Yeah, thankfully I don't. Okay,
yeah,
so this is
but
so
yeah,
you were
it's spoopy. It's
taking
like a
inspiration. Oh my god.
common thing. It's spoopy season.
Okay.
Heckin',
Go back to the
heckin'
shore.
spoopy, man.
No, go back to the shore. Just
Okay.
yeah. It's got pets. It's got pets and kids all.
So
Yeah,
this
that's
is what
the problem.
we're
That's the problem right there.
this is what we're aiming for, Mao, is more of this like very tribal, very like kind of crazy, what the heck's going on here, sort of a Wendigo, if you know what that is, sort of vibe to it. So
Isn't it Wendigo?
Wendigo, you're right. I think the ding is an addition by me.
Is that also an internet thing?
No, it's Wendigo, but
Okay.
Dingo. It does sound more fun to say Wendigo. Maybe it's an Australian version of a Wendigo.
I have an
Wendingo.
Australian friend. I will ask him tomorrow.
Because they have dingoes over there, right? They're at the wild
They
dogs.
do have dingoes. They
Yeah.
do have dingoes.
So this is sort of
all right.
some more inspiration. This is not a made up word, but this is a much I found better search engine than Google. It's called Yandex. I like it a lot better. So if you're looking for something, it's a good.
Why is that?
Because like this search alone, like if I take this and put it into Google and then hit images, I'm gonna get like not as many, and they're gonna be not as high quality. It's like I don't know. It's just the Google image search kind of sucks. Like it mostly finds these weird like clip art things, and you're like, where'd you get this? Like I don't know what this is. Like why does it have watermarks all over it? Versus over here, it's just like it's what you want. It's just straight images, and the images are high quality, and
it's on my list. I just typed it in. It's on my list.
Yeah. So I actually want to keep these references over here. So, but in order to do this, one of the things I had to figure out how to do, and I'll be making a tutorial on this, I believe. My goal is to make it soon. I'm not going to say a date, but get the skulls to hang and like be able to swing around like this. I had to figure out the system, which is fun and a little tricky. So we're using some rope physics, and what's cool is Cinema 4D just updated all their like physics systems to have one unified system, but it meant that this original way I built it is broken. So like this scene here, you can see these little boxes around all the skulls.
Yeah.
That's because of the old system. So the old way I had to do it is like I had to build this box, and the box is technically what connects to the rope, and then the skull is its own thing that's not at all remotely connected to it. And this box is actually a cloth. Cloth could only work with cloth, but now non-cloth objects, rigid bodies, can work with soft bodies. Essentially, that's the technical VFX term for each of these things. It's a rigid body or a soft body. So I have a soft body in real life, actually, but and then Rob works out, so I think you have more of a rigid body. But
I'll take the compliment, but I feel awkward doing the so.
Yeah, so more or less though, the whole thing is I have this cache, that's why it's actually playing back super smoothly. But what's cool is now that I've built this system, we can use in other areas. So I'm trying to find cool and unique skulls. I didn't know this thing exists. It's called an owl monkey, I believe. And you can tell it's these big old eyes, but it's gonna look fun hanging from a rope. And then we also have this, you have to the ropes tied around it as well. So I have this simulation here.
Is this the owl monkey?
Yeah, this is the owl monkey.
Okay.
So I can, essentially put ropes around it, hit play. It'll wrap the ropes up. This one's not working quite right, but you get the idea. And then I can adjust it, right? I could go to the ropes. I could go to our rope here, and I could be like, let's make it sticky. Let's add more friction, and let's make it a little sticky. And now it should stick to them if I hit play. Boom. Look at that. So
It's delayed for me.
Oh, that's fine. But so we have a wrapping reset built. And tell you what, I'll also include this when I make the tutorial. You guys can get this for free. This will be included. Free asset, free wrapping simulation, pre-rig, pre-ready to go. You just got to throw your model in there, and then it'll wrap stuff around it. So yeah, so I'm gonna wrap a bunch of skulls, put them in place. So it's all there. It's all like kind of ready to be assembled. But as you can see, like, I built this whole library this week. So it's like a matter of like finding the skulls, importing them, cleaning them up, throwing the right, kind of textures on them, getting them sort of scene ready, as it were. And so that ended up taking up most of my time this week. But
how many different bones did you have to get?
I don't know if it'll tell me how many I have selected if I select all these, but
it says model 35 items.
Yep.
I just saw that.
Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, we have 35 different
decent amount.
Different skulls and bones, and I think it'll be fun. I got some cool ones, dude. There's got a condor over here. I got a panda skull. The idea is to make them feel like they're otherworldly. This one's just called Strange Skull, and I kind of like it. Just a strange skull.
Man, wow. They hit the name on the head.
Yeah, they were very literal. Let's see if I hit show it. I might be in the skull. Let's see. I don't know. Anyway, so we have all sorts of fun stuff.
Okay.
Turn off the IPR. Thank you. There it is. Yeah, nice.
Okay.
So just some fun. This is a strange one. I don't know what this is. Maybe there's some animal lover that knows what this thing is. But yeah. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think we're ready to rock and roll in that scene, and I just need to essentially build it. I have all the pieces, parts. It's been an assembly week, and that's what happens when you have, a full-time job. You're helping your wife run her business, and then you're making a short film and interviewing people and trying to think of tutorials and then doing live streams and trying to get some time for some video games in there too. There's a new season of Hunt Showdown. There's more, what's that thing called? Oh, it's so good, dude. The vibes are really the reason why I play it. There's the Cyberpunk, playing Cyberpunk. And there's like 50 other games I really want to play, but just cannot right now.
That Kong of Skull Island one?
Oh, gosh. All right. Do we have any more questions about the piece right now? I'm going to end my
I don't think so. I did have one question, actually.
Okay.
Something that you'd said, this was before we went live. You had said something about the skull was too...
high poly.
Yeah, too high poly.
Yeah.
Why was it too high poly, and what does that mean?
So that's a good question. So these are scans, what I'm looking at here. And I did want to get rid of that, but I want this. There we go. So if I go to my display here and I hit lines, you'll notice it's solid, but it's actually not solid. That's just how many damn polygons there are, how many lines there are. So you typically want, let's see if I do like consistent shading. Hidden lines, consistent shading will show up best. So, you want it to be optimized. So we don't have the video out yet, but Spizak and I are talking about optimization and how, there's a law of diminishing returns, obviously, but what you want to do is not have it be this dense, because how all 3D is calculated is if you like going down to like the ones and zeros level is points. And then you need at least 3 points to make a shape, right? So the simplest shape you can have in the world, in physics, is a triangle. That's as simple as you get to have something that actually has some size to it, right? Otherwise it's just a line. So 1 point, 2 points connected, that's a line. 3 points all connected, in a circle, that's a triangle. And then if you take two triangles, right? If I have a triangle here and a triangle here, and I let's say this is a triangle and this is a triangle, and then I connect them, right? That makes a square, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and essentially a triangle is a square. A triangle is a polygon. That's the technical term for a triangle, a digital triangle. So you have a polygon, two polygons make a square. And so every single one of these squares is at least two polygons. And then from there, all shapes are made of those. And so the idea is, if I'm trying to run a physics simulation, like I was with the ropes, on something that's this, it's having to calculate all these surfaces and going, is it touching that surface? Is it bumping into that surface? So what you want to do is you want to simplify it. And so I have that actually. If my monkey skulls here, monkey, turn that off. I turn on these two. This is a simplified version of it. So you can see how much simpler that is pretty quick, right? So if I go turn on that one. So that bottom jaw I just turned on is the complex one, and the top one is the simple one. And so you can see just how much more complex that gets.
And so for a scene like this with these assets, you don't need them to be hyper complex because we're not doing close-ups on them or anything like
right.
that nature.
Well, and the biggest reason
you want less because it's less information that has to be calculated.
Right, and the biggest reason is the simulation. So like doing the rope sim, swinging it from a rope, it's like that's way too heavy of a simulation. There's way too much going on for what we actually need, right? So it's like, do I want this thing to take weeks to calculate or days to calculate or like minutes or seconds to calculate? And I'd rather take like fractions of a second to calculate, which means I need to make it easier for the computer. So if you notice the ropes have very few polygons, like as little as possible. And they're not really like, in real life, you have like everything more or less has infinite points and infinite polygons. Like your polygons are more or less like cells or whatever, but in digital, we're simulating the real world. And so that's really costly if we make it too detailed. And then why these are detailed is because they're scans. So someone took a real skull, they scanned it in, and when you're scanning something in, typically you want it to be overly detailed because you can simplify it later. And you want to capture like every little nook and cranny. So like every little bump, every little crevice has it. Actually, I can't remember if these are scanned. I believe they're scanned just because of how freaking detailed they are. But I do have a ZBrush file for them, which is a sculpting program. So I don't know. I think they're scanned. My gut says they're scanned. My guess is they're scanned and then they went into ZBrush and like cleaned it up and added stuff. That'd be my gut.
Okay. Thought. And so when is there a benefit to have it hyper textualized? Like is it
if you're doing like extreme close-ups, if you're even then though you can kind of get away with other ways of doing it. If you're doing something that needs to be really accurate, if you're modeling like a human skull that was going to go into a person, you know what I mean? Like something where you're like, okay, this needs to have, and then depending on your system, if the polygons are not a issue. So one of the things that's cool about like Unreal Engine right now is polygons don't matter anymore, sort of. Like there's some caveats to that, but essentially the way they're processing it, how do I want to put this? If you're not like actually close to the object, it's automatically reducing everything that you need to look at. So it's called nanite. And essentially what it does is make it so it doesn't really matter. So there's times where it's like, well, why not, right? So in that situation, you're like, well, why not have the highest detail model? Because it's not going to matter to the viewer, right? It's not going to cost us anything. So like, this is a good, need this, let's just see it. So like, here you can see it changing the model as it needs to. I don't know what captions are on. So that way you don't have to have all the detail all the time. But I think if they zoom out somewhere, you can see just how like detailed some of this stuff actually is. And so that allows you to do stuff like crazy detailed, environments with millions of stones and stuff like that that normally would be incredibly hard to. I'm trying to see if it's showing me great images, but anyways, a very, very complicated scene with a whole bunch of small objects that have many, many sides. Now you can do live. You can more or less do it whenever you want with nanite versus. Let's go to images. Maybe there'll be some good examples. Here we go. Like this would be insane to render normally. It's just like that's so many objects, so many details. Just make those all really simple, four-sided things and pretend that and we'll do tricks like displacement and textures that make them look like they're complicated. But what nanite does is sort of all that work for you, so you can just bring in the really complicated mesh, and then it just automatically downscales it as needed. So that's what's kind of cool about that. But we're not using nanite; we're using Cinema 4D. So, yeah, we'll see. One day I do want to develop a Unreal sort of pipeline. I really love everything they're doing, and I would like to be good at it, but it's just not where my forte is right now. And our focus is getting things done, not constantly learning new stuff. There you go. This is a perfect example of this. So it's a really complex model. The farther away you get from the camera, the more simple it makes it, because it's sort of like, why spend all that processing power on something that you can't really see because it's not close up. But as you get close to it, it's like, let's make this really detailed. So that's how that works.
So basically, nanite's reading the distance that the camera is in the program from the object, and it's making a calculation of this is how many polygons are necessary in order to render something, I guess, realistic or necessary in this case.
Yep. Okay. Exactly.
Okay.
So I really like, that's how I like to work, and it sucks because I have a friend that knows the back end more than I do of Cinema 4D and is just smarter about optimizing things. And I'll do stuff all the time. Like earlier today, I crashed Cinema trying to do that rope sim on the full resolution model. I was like, oh, here's the model. Let me just simulate this. And I was like, oh, shoot. Of course, that has millions of polygons. I should probably reduce it before running a simulation that's calculating the physics of every side of this thing. So and I do that on a very regular basis where I'll be like it's why I love Embergen, and I use it all the time. So I can be really messy with it. I'm just going to import a thing. I'm just going to light it on fire. And it's real time. There's millions of points, and it just works. And I'm like, sweet. But most of the time you can't get away doing that digitally. It's just what do you think you're doing? You're just about to light your, and there's
on fire.
And I'll do stupid. There's a lot of divide by zero situations when it comes to 3D.
I mean, on the plus side, you don't have a case for your computer, so
it's just sitting here, open air. There's a reel on the YouTube channel of that, I believe. But yeah, it's just sitting open air, completely jank. But the thing is, you have a circle, and in your head you go well, a circle should be completely round, and in reality, but also in 3D, it's no, it should really be just whatever the minimum number of points you can have until you can't really see the individual dots, the individual corners anymore. But the temptation is just to go we'll make it round, right? You just drag the thing to infinity, it's and then the computer blows up.
We haven't found the end of pi yet, so keep going.
Right. It's exactly. That's exactly what your computer starts doing. It's well, I'll just calculate this until I break. And so, yeah, so that's something you want to avoid. And what's cool is it's very similar to normal filmmaking in the fact of okay, how do I do this thing that would be really crazy or really expensive? How do I fake it? And so with traditional filmmaking, that's models a lot of times, where it's okay, I have to have a giant city that's built into a mountainside, and it's has these things are huge, and it's well, that's going to be really hard to do and costly. We can't build an entire city. So what's the cheapest way you can do that still looks good? It's what if we just did it really, really small? It's we can build a really small city. It's that works.
Yeah.
And then it's we'll just make it look big. So it's there's a lot of similar thinking if you're good at what you do. And it's one of the reasons, I mentioned this with Alex Sikowski, and how that's if you have that ability as a director or as a filmmaker, that's like one of your best. Being a bit of a magician is like your best skills. Like there's right up there with like storytelling and good cinematography and good lighting. To me, is good like problem solving and being able to be like, okay, what's a fun way to trick the audience into thinking they're seeing something that they're not seeing, and with the tools I have like on hand. So that's something that I always respect in directors and in like especially like VFX people, obviously, but like it's a skill that I often lack, because you see something, you're like, oh, I'll just do this the like expensive way, and then you don't stop to think like, well, what would be a less literal way maybe of doing that thing, and you're like, that's a good how could I imply this, or how could I do it without actually needing to, could I do it with a 2D cutout, and like, are we ever going to rotate around this thing? So that's always like a compositors are really really good at that, and I'm a bit of a compositor, but I I'm always wanting to just like, let's actually simulate the ropes, and let's have it actually swing, and let's have it in, like, I would be like a James Cameron type that guy where it's like, we're gonna actually record this whole thing underwater, and you're like, is there no other? He's like, nope, we're doing it underwater, and you're like,
yeah. Maybe we
all right,
could
that got really
just
expensive
not.
really fast,
And yeah, well,
and now your actors all
he's
hate you because they almost drowned, and you were like, keep recording. This is a good take.
yeah, he's pretty ruthless. Okay, that's good. That's good to know though. Yeah, because I don't really think of it from that perspective of like, okay, what do we actually need?
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to that is really important from that aspect of like, okay, you have a budget. How do we stick with it? Okay,
Right.
figure out ways where you don't have to do everything
Right.
literal or high poly count for all that. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and
All
even in
right.
3D, we would call it like a computation budget, right? There's like in video games especially, they have that's like, what's our polygon budget? Like, how can we simplify this? And like, and then where do we want to spend those polygons, right? So usually it's like, well, the player model, and you'll notice in video games, especially like God of War is one of the ones that like does this a lot. But your like player model will be like crazy detailed. Like Kratos will have like every little like thing, like just like every hair of his beard. And then you'll like meet some other NPC that only shows up like one time, and they'll be like very blocky, and like not like their face is all like smooth, and there's not like a lot of little like pores and stuff like that. And it's because the fact that it's like, well, you're seeing this guy like once in like a scene where you like kill him because he's just like a character in the world, and then your main character we're regularly going to see close up and all this other stuff. So that's a fun way to ruin video games for yourself, is start looking at all the different models and which ones have like, all the details and which ones don't.
Again, that's why people are unnecessarily lampooning the Kong Skull Island game.
Oh, I haven't seen
Because they
anything about it.
understood. I watched just a little bit clip of it because I kept hearing bad stuff about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad. It is real. So they sold skins with it, like a DLC with skins. The skins are all just recolored. They're the same thing with just different colors, except for one, which is Battle Scar. But Battle Scarred it was spelled Battle Scared, so you should appreciate that misspelling.
Yeah.
But it also
may or may
removed
not have had to delay the live stream because of misspelling the thumbnail.
They actually have the normal one has scars on his chest. They took those scars away, and all they did was like remove the hair on the shoulder as if it's a scar, and it's just smooth. Like it's a smooth model at that point instead. And the hair is not good to begin with. It is a masterclass in just
this is some like
half-assing it.
Unknown studio, right? I'm really hoping it's like
pretty much. But they were trying to sell it, I think, for like full price, and it's clearly
it's already 20% off on Steam.
Yeah, I'm surprised it has not been pulled. It is
mostly negative as the reviews.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I think you have to be a troll to be
Developer,
giving it a positive review.
Iguana Bee. Never seen anything.
I was looking up their stuff too. I was fascinated with it.
Well, reviews.
Yeah, it's bad.
I guess they made a G.I. Joe game. Yeah, I feel bad. I always feel bad when something doesn't come together at all the way you want, and it's just like you just lack the ability. But that's also where you need to be honest with yourself and your client and other people and be like, we can't do this. It's just not gonna.
Yeah.
The doubling down on it is probably the craziest thing that whenever I see one of these, it's like we're gonna keep it going. You're like, we should cut our losses and just not do this, you know. But
Yeah.
people have obligations to other people and yikes.
Perks, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun times with that. But no, that's good. Yeah, I think we can end it there for this
All
week.
right.
I guess next week is going to be working on building the monument.
Yeah, that's the goal. We might take a week off at some point. Somebody's in the chat. What what?
We might take a week off. Is that the royal we or the royal we, you and the wife?
Actually, well, I got to think about this both. I think she's gonna be out of town, and I don't know if I'll be out of town too. I might be in town. If I'm in town, then I'll probably also, there is a trailer. Thanks for asking. Yes.
I like how you're
it's
saying it all out loud.
On the channel. What's it called? It's called short film, right?
Yeah, it should be the Tycho Decay short film announcement.
I believe this is called. Is it Tycho Decay announcement? Did we change the name?
I don't know. I'm gonna. No, it says Dead Space Cinematic Short Film Announcement. We should change that.
I'm okay to leave it at that for now.
Yeah,
but dude, thank you so much for tuning in. You're our first, I think, real like live viewer / chatter. So it's
you're totally fine with leaving it because you're not the one who updates it. I'm the one who updates it.
Oh yeah, but yeah, dude, thanks so much for watching. I'm sorry for not monitoring the chat more closely. I was assuming no one was watching.
That is such a good attitude. I appreciate it.
I know.
100%.
I believe
no downside
in us,
at
dude.
all.
I believe in our vision.
I can tell. It's heartwarming all around. Oh yeah, the vacation. So you might be taking vacation. Okay.
Yeah.
So is that next week?
Yeah, next Saturday, or I think it's only Saturday and Sunday. So I think we might be good to still meet. But yeah, well, we don't need to talk about that live. That's a behind the scenes thing. So I mean, now we have someone to let down though if we don't meet. I was gonna say no one's gonna care if we don't meet up
Again,
every Friday.
I'll be down for meeting next week if we can. If we got work done, I'd say we can do it even if it's short. And we'll aim for the monument finishing that up. And then yeah, we can talk more boring stuff after this.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. And yeah,
your brain is still not processing.
Move around the channel, check it out. There's some other stuff that I think you'll like, and it should be it's going to be somewhat realistic. It's obviously 3D, but it's going to be as realistic as we can make it on our zero budget. And
that's complete crap. I just saw you lower all the polygons. I don't believe you. You're a liar. End the stream. I don't want to hear your lies anymore.
All right, no more lies.
Lies and deceit.
See you guys probably next week.
Yep.
We'll see.
What do you mean probably? Oh my god, you're killing me.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I was about to end our call. No, I want to end the stream.
I almost always hit leave too. I'm like, oh yeah,